Hey everyone, welcome back to our mini podcast. My name's Keaton. I am the director and cinematographer for our music video, Cost of Waiting.
I'm Eunith. My real name is Matthew, though. I'm the artist, the musician artist who wrote the song and who is forever grateful to Keaton for helping create this music video.
My pleasure. Okay, so we're going to talk about our whole entire process from start to finish, from the concepts to the pre-production to production and a little bit of post-production. All the fun happened during the production phase, so we have a lot to talk about there. But to start things off, we got to talk about where the whole idea came from and where it began. So this happened late in April. Matthew played the song for me.
Yeah.
And it was kind of my job to be inspired and to potentially think of a concept for this music video, and we were going to bring it to life.
Yeah.
So
get inspired, Keaton. Here, play, and then you did. So I mean, it's a good technique to use with you. Actually, I realize I should employ it more often.
Yeah, and it wasn't very difficult for me to come up with a concept because this song had a very unique element in it, and that stood out to me, which was the robot voice. I think it's called the vocoder.
Talkbox.
Okay.
There is a vocoder in it too, though. It has vocoder and it has talkbox. So honestly, you can't miss. Just swing and you'll get it for this song.
So yeah, the talkbox was very unique to me, and it stood out the most in this song. So I thought I can take that concept or that sound and apply it to somewhat of a story to create a narrative type music video, not so much of a performance. Even though we do have Matthew lip syncing for this entire song, I think it's seen more as a short film and a narrative than a typical, band plays a song type music video. Yeah. And that's what got me most interested, is to create a short film in a way, and to make it very lighthearted and fun and a little bit goofy in some aspects. And right away, I imagined two characters for this. I imagined Matthew being the main character and a robot being the supporting character, which you can see right in front of us, the head. We named this robot Bobby, and I think it's very fitting, very cute for the face especially. And it took me a long time to build, and I knew it would take me such a long time. So once May came around, I decided to dedicate almost every day after work building this costume from scratch in a way. And it's made out of all types of recycled electronics, thrifted from thrift shops, ton of cardboard, lots of cheap plastics. I love working from available resources, like what I already have at my disposal, things that are affordable and recycled and convenience. That's just like my style, and I really enjoy working in that way. I've created a few costumes in the past. I'll show you right now. I have like a Doctor Strange costume I created. I have some other cool characters I made for my photo shoots, and I had a lot of confidence making this costume because of my past experience, so I knew I could handle it all on my own, which was really tough and difficult, but we made it happen. And I'll talk about the whole process of it real quick. So in the beginning of May, I decided to gather a ton of materials for this, mostly cardboard and a lot of electronics, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
So I think one of the first weeks of May, I went thrifting, and I brought a lot of the old electronics from the thrift store I was able to find over here. And Matthew and I kind of took them apart and saw what was interesting and what we could use.
And you mean literally? Like, we literally took them apart. Like, we had screwdrivers here, and we were disassembling these old alarm clocks, like a checkout receipt machine from the 80s. We literally took these all apart, and we're looking at all their circuit boards, being like, is this a pretty circuit board? Could this work? Yeah, sure. Let's use it. Or like, oh, is this plastic frame of this old alarm clock, is it cool enough to use? Does it have like the form that might look like it belongs on a chest? Yeah, let's keep it. And then we actually put them all back together. We didn't like throw them away. We were like, well, just to be sure, let's keep track of all the screws and let's put them all back together like we never took them apart. So we were good little like inventors there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from there, I tried to come up with a design for this whole robot. And there's a lot of factors that came into play because we were kind of thinking we would have somebody else play this character for us, because I knew it would be difficult for me to film and be the character at the same time. And then as we kept making more and more progress, we're thinking about, well, we don't really know anyone who can fill this role for us, and it would take more effort to try to find somebody who would fit this costume exactly, who also, fits all these other criteria. So I just made the choice early on that this is for me. I'm going to be this character. It's just going to be the easiest for me to build it to my proportions and to make it fit me perfectly, so that we don't have to worry about, it not fitting right on somebody else.
Yeah, it allowed you to like build it and then try it on as you were going along. Like make an opening for your head or make an opening for your arm and then stick your own arm through it, rather than saying, hey, actor X, can you come in and we would like to, fit this onto you. Oh, it didn't fit. I need to make adjustments. No, in real time, you're able to say, okay, my head doesn't fit, slightly bigger hole. All right, cool, good. Moving on to the next part. It made it all move along a lot faster.
Yeah, and we did give ourselves quite a deadline for this project. Mm-hmm. Gave us enough time to be realistic. So I had basically the entire month of May to create this costume. And I won't talk too much more about it because we have so many more details to touch on. Yeah. But I'll just wrap things up right here with the costume. So the foundation of the whole costume is cardboard that I had already. And I created just really basic geometric shapes. So I had a rectangular prism for the torso and like a kind of a shaved off cube for the head we see here. Mm-hmm. And lots of other rectangular shapes for the thighs, the shins, and the feet. The feet are one of my favorite details. I think they look so cool. I also use some of the like Gundam designs for inspiration. I like the shapes there, as well as the retro Transformer characters were my inspiration for this costume. And the head, I in the beginning, I did consider making it rounded. I did find a trash can lid that looked very appealing to us with the shape it had and the friendliness it had with this shape, but I couldn't figure out a way to make it work. So I settled on this cube shape and adding the friendly features with the eyes and the mouth
shape.
Yeah, really tied in together, especially with the ears, which are just some plastic cup lids kind of glued together with these radio antennas on the end, and there's pieces of plastic straw, like bendy straws.
Yeah, the bendy straws. Yeah. I didn't even realize what it was when I first saw the head completely built. I was like, oh, well, I know these are antennas, duh. Like I'm not that new to the earth. But then you had to tell me later, like, this is a lid and this is a straw. And I was like, oh, of course. Yes. Now I see it. But in context, it's all just robot stuff.
Yeah. And my main goal was to have everything kind of tie in together with the looks head to toe, and part of doing that was to find a color of spray paint to make it match with every detail, with every part. I wanted it to be this kind of off-white tan
taupe.
It's basically the same color that all the electronics were in the what was it, the 90s. Yeah,
this is what you were buying whether you wanted to or not. This is the color of your wall-mounted phone that has a cord on it. This is the color of your answering machine. This is the color of your alarm clock. Or maybe black and brown were also alarm clock options at the time.
Yeah. All right, 2 more things I have to talk about with this costume. And of course, I did mention this is primarily made out of cardboard, but when you spray paint cardboard, it kind of gives a really weird texture that was not going to work for us, especially if we wanted this to look along the lines of being metallic or plastic. Mm-hmm. Cardboard would not cut it for this. So I had the very tedious job of cutting out these thin plastic sheets I found at the dollar store and pasting them over every cardboard surface that was on this costume. So when I put the paint on top of that, it would reflect very nicely, as you can probably see already in this shot, that the lights are just bouncing off of it very nicely to give it that slightly futuristic look that we wanted to show in this character.
Just a little shiny. Shiny.
We got to have that shine.
Yeah.
And the final thing to make this costume really come to life within the head and face specifically is the eyes and the mouth. So I had those light up in the music video, and to do that, talking about the mouth, I had a old smartphone of mine just playing a plain white screen so that we can have it flash in sync with the song. And some people were wondering if that was done in post, if it was an effect I added, but it was actually there in person while we were filming. We had it flashing to be lip syncing its parts in the song.
Practical man.
Yeah. Everything I can do practically, I try to do if possible. And then for the eyes, I just had these tiny, they're advertised as balloon LED lights that you put inside balloons.
That's what it is, yeah.
So they're very small, and I was able to just like shove them in there, turn them on. They kept dying on us, so fortunately I had about a dozen of them so that we can swap them out and make sure that they were always a decent brightness for us. So that's the whole costume. I will talk about how it felt wearing it a little bit later once we're talking more about production.
Yeah.
But we had a few more things we had to take care of in the pre-production side of things. And here it's probably middle to late May at this point.
Yes.
And the next thing we did is we started creating what I like to call a descriptive storyboard. And this is basically, we have the song in a timeline, like a video editing timeline, and we just type out what we imagine being shown during those parts of the song.
Being on screen at that given moment.
Yeah, so that really helped us figure out the whole tone of the video and the pacing of it so that we knew where specific jokes were going to land.
Yes.
And when specific scenes were going to play, so that we had a more clear, that's Kiki's tail if you saw that. So we had a more clear vision of what we needed to film, and we were able to stay on track and not film too much or too little when it came to
that's always what you're fighting against, is like, well, let's get a shot of this, and then you edit it down and you're like, this isn't a 20-minute movie, this is a 4-minute song with some change, and we can't use all this footage now. We wasted a lot of our own time, and that's not what we wanted to do, especially with the looming realization that we were going to be filming when summer was going to be here. And it was just, oh no, if we would have started a month earlier, if we would have, had these ideas, a month or two earlier, we probably could have beaten the heat. But we knew going into it, like, oh man, if we end up filming in June, it's going to be hot. So we do not want to spend any more time than we absolutely need to getting every shot that we want.
Mm-hmm. And that was pretty quick in the grand scheme of things of the pre-production side of our process. So we got that out of the way, and we moved on to doing some lighting tests and some camera tests in the garage. And I wanted to bring up this point again, that I love working out of convenience and practicality. So we filmed basically everything within Matthew's home and property. So a lot of the scenes we filmed in this room and in other rooms, but the whole video takes place in his garage. And that's
my dirty, scary garage. Is basically what he's saying, is that when you look at that garage and wonder, my God, where did they find this claptrap? Thank you. Courtesy of moi.
Yeah, so about a week before we started filming, this is now the end of May, we had a few of our friends, we had Manuela and Tatiana and Bree come in and help us clean out the garage, vacuum it up, dust a few things off, and clear out the space.
Spiderwebs, Get the spiderwebs out of there, basically.
Pretty much get any distraction that did not need to be in the garage out of there, so that we had a relatively clean slate to work with. And from there, I brought in a lot of my lights. I brought in the TVs, some of the props we were planning on using, and just figured out where they should go and what would look best for the video. One of my inspirations for the whole set design of the garage is Big Hero 6, especially in the garage where Hero has colored lights kind of indicating where different workspaces are within his garage, so that there's kind of dividing sections with lights. So we did that, and we did work again off of the color of the artwork you designed for this single. We also used green. I thought green works really well as a complementary color in this video. Even though it's not in the artwork, I thought it was a great contrast to have instead of just making everything that blue color to break things up.
And technology really lends itself well to green too, I think. I mean, green is like a very tech adjacent color. You think like The Matrix, you think like The 13th Floor, if anyone remembers that movie. And there's a lot of green in that genre too. So I think it was cool to bring that into it.
And I think that's about the last thing we did, the last major thing we did for pre-production. We also were thinking about costume design for what Matthew will be wearing in this video. I didn't want him to be wearing the same thing from start to finish. I wanted it to seem like days were passing within this story that we were telling. So we made sure to have a variety of shirts, about, I think, 4 different shirts you were wearing.
Yeah, I think so. 4.
I'll put a number on screen right now. How many shirts we were wearing? Okay, thanks.
That many.
Yeah. And I wanted it to kind of tie into his character. I envisioned Matthew's character to be this inventor, geek for sure, loves video games.
Yeah, just say it, nerdy.
I mean, very, very true to his real character.
Oh, cool, perfect.
So some of the shirts have some designs that you can kind of recognize in that sense.
Oh yeah, Bomberman, Gundam, heck yeah! Like these, we were really happy to find those. We were like, oh, how about this one? Absolutely, let's buy this shirt, and they're great. And now they're in my dresser, and one is in your dresser, but that's to be discussed later.
Okay, and there was one final thing we did. It was the day before we started filming this music video.
Oh, man.
I proposed the idea of having our own brand of cereal for the scene where Matthew's eating cereal alone. I came up with the brand name of Robatos for our fake cereal box.
Yep.
And the night before we started filming this music video, I designed that whole cereal box from start to finish.
Yeah.
I can show you right now how that process kind of went. And the morning after, I went to Office Depot and got it printed out. I had the exact dimensions planned out. I had the cereal box, bought a brand new box of Fruit Loops to put it on so that we'd have to do like a whole lot of crafting for this box to come to life. And then the print was too big. It didn't fit on the box at all. I brought it over and I'm like, well, maybe we can cut up some cardboard and make it work. But Manu and I think it was Bree. Yeah, they're like, no, we can just go find a box that's the right size.
So they hunted down a store brand, like generic brand of Rice Krispies from a nearby grocery store, and then even added like a little bumper footer on the bottom of it of cardboard so that it would be the exact dimensions, and they matched it. Like it looked like your print just perfectly fit on it. So
yeah, it looked legit.
We couldn't have asked for better help in the props department because that was clean. Clean stuff.
Yeah, super clean. So that was the first day. Let's talk about what scenes we filmed within this first day. We decided to really break apart, this music video into sections to make things a lot more fluid and faster paced in terms of our time and other people's time, so that we're not spending 10 hours every day filming this music video. So we just decided to film all the what we called cutaway scenes on that Friday, which included the scene of Matthew playing baseball, or not playing baseball, playing catch by himself.
Playing lonely baseball.
Thinking about a lot of details right now. There's a lot to think about for this music video. And we filmed that one first, so we just had Matthew in his backyard, and I had him borrow my baseball glove.
Yeah, which is a right-handed glove.
Yeah, I did not even remember that Matthew was left-handed, so how was that?
This is fine. I mean, you can tell that I'm trying to really get in the zone to toss this ball to make it land in the mitt, because we have plenty of footage of me just tossing the ball, being like, come on, get in this mitt. Nope, on the grass. Nope, hit myself in the head. Nope, it's out of frame. So that just took a lot of practice and, getting into my, I think the Greeks called it techne. It's like getting in the zone, for athletes, to just constantly toss the ball up and catch it in the mitt. But it was a fun day because I think that day I had to change outfits 3 times.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So I was going from that t-shirt and the mitt and the hat to then quickly you setting up the lights for the next shot while I got into the next costume for the next shot, and then rushing off into the other one. And the next shot that we filmed after the mitt and the catching the ball was this shot.
Yeah, exactly where we're sitting. We lit it the same way as you see it right now, except the only difference is here on the table, there was not this robot head. There was an old TV with a GameCube and some controllers, and Matthew here by himself playing Mario Kart Double Dash.
The best Mario Kart of the series. I mean, it's a beautifully lit space. I'll be honest, in terms of sitting somewhere to be filmed, it was possibly my favorite because I got to sit on a couch and lean back on a couch with all these pretty lights that you can't see, but they are pretty, not just the effect of them, the lights themselves are pretty pieces of hardware in my opinion. So it was just really nice to be a part of that scene.
Yeah, I thought it was a great looking scene as well. And throughout I'll bring this detail up right now. So we had Matthew lip syncing for all of his on-screen parts for this video. I think the majority, at least, if not all of them. And we had our friend Manuela playing the song on a speaker in the background. So if you didn't know, that's how it's done in these music videos, is we have the song playing somewhere off screen so that the artist can time it and, and lip sync.
Let me help you.
To the song, so that in editing, it syncs up perfectly. Okay, we have a lot more to talk about, so let's move on to the next scene we did that day. We're still on Friday. We had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we filmed for this whole music video. So the last scene we took care of on that Friday was right in your kitchen. We had the cereal scene where we had our beautiful box of Robatos there on the table. I had 2 of my Nanlite 4-foot tubes kind of hooked up above the windows in that room so that we had some nice blue in the colors there. And we used the box of Fruit Loops that I bought and took out all the blue loops to create our own cereal bowl with some added marshmallows in there.
Yeah.
And that was it for that scene. I just had Matthew kind of just like stir the bowl around with this spoon.
Yep.
Look kind of bored, and I had the camera push in very dramatically, like you do. And
like one does.
Yeah, like one does. I want to talk about the lighting setup I had for our whole garage.
Yeah, go ahead.
Set.
Yeah. It was really well done.
Our work from outside to in, I basically had my Aperture Nova set up right outside the garage window to simulate daylight so that we had consistent lighting coming through that window the entire time. And that was all we had to do for the outside, since we're not really showing the outside. We just needed that light to shine through the window. And then walking inside the garage, I had 4 of my Nanlite Pavo tubes, the 4-foot ones, set up in different areas of the garage. So I had a green one set up over the workbench on the left side.
Yes.
And then I had a blue one set up near the back over the computer in that workspace. I had another green one set up over the televisions to light them up very nicely. And then I had an additional blue one set up near the front of the garage door just to add even more color to that side of the garage. And I think that was basically it. We had some ambient light coming from the TVs themselves, and of course that additional light coming through the window from the Nova. We got so lucky with it looking as nice as it did, because you literally can put the camera at any angle with that lighting setup, and it would look flattering and nice and cinematic like I wanted. So
yeah, we avoided that whole thing where like, okay, we got the shot, next shot is in a different area, everybody move all the lights. No, it was just next shots in this area, just move to this area and get the props ready that we needed. So it's like an actual like stage. It was a stage. We made it into a stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And let's talk about the sort of props and furniture and items we had to really bring this whole garage to life. One detail I like in particular is all the printouts of diagrams and schematics and all kinds of techie looking imagery we pasted on the cabinets, on the doors, just in different places. And that was also done the night before. I printed all those out, did not design them. I just found them off Google. Yeah. I'm a big fan of games myself, so I found some schematics from Portal 2 and some like dissection schematics and diagrams of PlayStations and other video game Nintendo consoles, and then just some random circuit board looking things just to have the extra detail to make it seem like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. But
yeah.
If you pause it, I'll show you right now. If you pause it on these specific shots, you can kind of see the Portal 2 schematics and some other video game schematics.
Yeah.
I love that detail. What else did we do in the garage?
So we knew that we wanted to make my workstation look like it was used frequently and like I was actually organized. So a lot of the tools that exist in my garage actually are kept in drawers all the time so that they don't get as dusty. But Tatiana, Bree, and Manuela actually organized like tools and wrenches and screwdrivers to be at the workbench so that it would look like I have them readily available to grab at any moment. And then we had to clear the other workbench, the one by the window, so that we could put a drill press on it, and it would have a lot of space, because usually I keep like flower pots and things on that table. So we wanted to get rid of all of that so that there was room for not just the drill press, but also my synth. And then there was also the task of, for the workbench in the middle, I guess we called it like the operating table, because it was the one that you could be on both sides of. We wanted to be able to hide the computer that was feeding the monitor there. So we had to have a short stool in the back where a laptop could sit that was then connected to the monitor.
I want to bring up this detail too. So we had this joke early on. There's a website called hackertyper.net. And basically, you go to the website and it brings you to the screen. It's a black screen. And when you press any random keys on your keyboard, it types all these complicated, just inputs.
Hacker
and things.
Crap.
Yeah. And as long as you're just like pressing buttons, it looks like you're really hacking into something. So that was a joke we really wanted to have in this music video. So we brought my old monitor to put on the table, hooked up to my current laptop so that we can actually log into the website. And we had that on the table the entire time for the music video, so that when the time came for that shot, all you had to do was press all these buttons on the keys, which was not actually plugged into anything or the computer. We had Manuela,
crouch
stealth mode off to the side, doing all the actual button pressing to make sure that the screen was animating for that joke to happen, and it worked out perfectly. And talking about screens, we also had all of the TV screens just off to the side on another shelf, and we had all kinds of retro video games playing on those. Specifically, we had Mario Kart 64 on the left screen. We had Static in the middle of the TVs, and on the right TV we had Super Mario 3.
Yeah, on the OG
the
NES.
These were not emulators. These were the real deal, the actual consoles, still running in 2021, thank goodness.
Because Keaton takes care of everything is clearly what it means. Like, the man doesn't let anything break or go to shit. But whatever. Great stuff. Great stuff. We loved having those televisions there because there's something about CRT TVs and their curvature that just makes those games feel so magical.
Yeah, it would have been a totally different feel if we did not have those old TVs in particular, rather than a current, flat screen that was relatively the same size. It would not look nearly as good.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we were able to find those. And some other details we added within our set design is we had goggles for Matthew to wear.
Yep.
You'll see it in the very first scene. We also had this cute little robot toy right behind us. You can see there as another detail.
He was a cool find downtown at a thrift store.
Makes a couple appearances and happened to work, when Matthew found it. Did you put batteries in it?
No, I didn't even put batteries in it because it's one of those toys that has a screw holding down the battery compartment, I guess, so that kids aren't like taking out batteries and drinking acid and dying. So it was just already covered, and I was like, well, I wonder if it even works or if it's been corroded. And I just hit the on switch and hit one button on his little chest, and he just came to life. He even says stuff when he comes on, like, "Hi, my name is Astro, and I'm going to teach you to spell," or something valuable.
Okay, so we haven't even talked about filming it, the actual act of filming yet. We just talked about set design. So Saturday, it's time to film in the garage. It's hot. We have fans in every corner trying to keep us cool. I borrowed a portable AC just to do anything we could to bring that temperature down. I think it had to have been 100 degrees outside.
Yeah, it was probably already.
It was extremely hot.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
But fortunately, the fans did make a bit of a difference.
They did
to make it tolerable in there.
They help, man.
Because we had to spend close to 6 hours filming Saturday and Sunday, and just had to stay hydrated.
I mean, what also helped is that there were scenes even in that first day where I needed to look hot. I needed to look like I was tired and I was kind of sweaty from being in my workspace and working so long. So it didn't really require much hair and makeup because I was tired and sweaty and hot in my own garage. So it was good old, Marlon Brando level method acting, if I can be so self-aggrandizing.
All right, so for filming, sometimes when it comes to complicated projects like this or music videos or short films in general, people will film out of order for the sake of time and convenience. But for this specific project, it was actually easiest for us to film in order of how things appeared within the music video. So we filmed that shot of Matthew at the bench with the flashes of light first. That was one of the first shots we filmed. Yes. And we had a whole list of things, checking things off the list, and from there it hasn't been that long since the video's been done, but it feels like it's been a long time because we've been working on other stuff. So what did we do after that scene? I think
the one where I'm rotating away from using the Dremel. I'm using the Dremel on his little eyes or his face or something, and I'm rotating away and I'm turning in my chair, and then I move over to a different section of the workspace. And those ones that have movement to them, like, you know, it's not just on me like acting and doing something, it's also on any lighting cues you might have. It's also on you moving the camera in a way that you're really happy with. So there's so many moving parts that to get the right shot and to get, you know, really happy with it requires like just a great take. And like we always know it too, because Keaton always says as soon as like cut, love it. That's how we know like, okay, that's going to be the one we end up using. It's not like cut, I think we got it, or cut, pretty great. It's always cut, love it. And we're like, we got it. We must have gotten it on that take.
Yeah. Or that's the one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one.
That's the one.
And we definitely had a handful of takes that were first take was perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We like Bruce Willis this because Bruce Willis apparently only agrees to do one take on a lot of film things because he thinks his time is worth that much that he doesn't want to spend any more time than just doing one take, yet still collect millions of dollars. It really tainted my views of him when I learned that about him. But, the Expendables franchise didn't need him after the second or third installment, I guess. Anyway.
I think one of the next shots we did is the hacker typer shot. Very easy. And we already touched upon how that kind of worked out. Mm-hmm. And after that... All right, I hope you enjoyed your intermission right there. We're here to talk about the second day of filming, that Saturday, and another shot that really sticks out to me is the close-up of the robot hands moving while you're kind of using your screwdriver. We actually, no one would know this unless I told you, and you're going to find out right now that our friend Tatiana's hand was the robot hand for that shot. She moved her fingers so cool.
Yeah.
The way they were like kind of...
twitchy and like making them move kind of on their own. It was funny though because we got derailed a couple of shots because she and I kept making jokes about ways of moving the hands and like father and like reaching for my hand when I was screwing it and then like acting like she was in a lot of pain for other ones. It was a really funny shot to do. And we were also very fortunate that her hand fit with the hand pieces for it too, that her hands weren't too small for that. Or too big for it.
Yeah, because everything within the costume is designed specifically for me and my proportions and my size. And my brother 3D printed all the little hand pieces that go around like rings on fingers for that part of the costume. I also mentioned that I thought the feet were my favorite detail of the costume. Yeah. The hands are actually my favorite detail.
Oh, okay.
They just look so cool. And they work so well for close-ups. The feet don't. So scratch that. This is my new honest opinion of the costume. They're awesome. 2 thumbs up. Yeah. So we had that shot, knocked it out really quickly. It was super fun to capture. And from there, we had a few extra jokes that we filmed. So we had the one joke with you putting on the cool looking glasses.
Instead of safety goggles. I mean, really, they're better safety goggles because they not only protect you from like sparks, but they also protect you from losers because they won't talk to you when you're wearing shades like that.
Yeah, and I definitely felt like we had to have all these goofy jokes within this music video to really nail down the tone we were wanting to set, with it being very lighthearted and very
lighthearted.
And not so serious. There's so many shots within this music video that actually don't make sense.
Yeah.
So there's a shot of you with the drill gun and you're drilling a circuit board, which makes no sense. I mean, I honestly wouldn't be able to argue against it because I have no idea when it comes to that.
We don't build robots.
Yeah. The main thing I wanted to show in this music video was progress being made and the costume coming together, and any shots to make you look busy is all that we needed for this video.
Yep. Yeah. And I think another big part of the jokes that we started to insert there was because we had talked in the beginning when we were making the visual storyboard, and even a little bit before it when we were just talking about what could we show if the main character is building a robot. And every time we would talk about the process, we would just joke about, or, you know, instead of actually doing that, it could just be this dumb version of it instead. And I think that that's just because naturally like to take things very seriously anyway. I think making like a very, very serious narrative piece of like building a robot because a tortured soul is so lonely or something is just way too, like, I don't want to face those like emotions. Like I don't want to do that. So kind of coating it all in like a ton of humor and goofiness and silliness is just something that made it a lot easier for me to act in, and something that made me a lot more excited to create it. So I'm glad that it never became annoying for you, and that you were never like, oh, Jesus, another joke here. Like, it's just the way I work.
Yeah, and even if we wanted to make this video a little bit more believable and realistic, we did not have the time or the budget to do the research or to get a realistic looking robot costume in this video. So we did it the very DIY, self-sufficient route, which is probably the most fun route in my opinion. It's how we like to work here.
Yes. I think the comb shot running through my hair, I think that was like first or second take. That one.
Yeah, it was very easy for us to. Actually, no, I think that took quite a few takes from my memory. Show the take counter. How many takes did it take? Okay, yeah.
Oh no,
we had this very, in my opinion, interesting shot or transition between the garage scene and the cereal bowl scene. We had what I call it, or what is called a match cut, where we filmed this metal bowl of nuts and bolts and scraps, where Matthew picks up a piece from the drill press, tosses it in the bowl, and then it cuts perfectly with the same composition, the same setup into the next scene of the actual cereal bowl. And that's one of my favorite moments. It's just so satisfying to see that cuts. It's because normally you want transitions to like kind of blend in together and be seamless, but this is a hard cut, but it feels seamless into the next scene with it just matching so well with the shapes.
And I just love that it hits right on one of the notes in the song as well. It's just like, yes, this is what makes the music video medium so fun sometimes, is that you have audio to work with as like an editing influence as well, rather than just, cutting around whenever people look places or whatever.
So that was basically the end of day 2. That Saturday, we had 3 days of filming. Not a lot of issues that day.
Nope.
Pretty smooth in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
All the issues came the next day.
That's right.
Specifically with the costumes. So Sunday comes around. I think the first thing we did in terms of filming was we filmed the next joke that was pretty ambitious in my opinion.
Yeah. We had this one we had just joked about what level of intensity it was going to be. We knew it was always going to be like, oh, he's going to be really tired, but the level of intensity was what we were like, oh yeah, and just like, a bucket.
Is the sweat joke, first of all, if you're not catching this.
We had to decide like, oh, we need to make sure that you're in this position. We're going to have the water. We're going to go to this part of the floor. And we'd filled up just, very simple. We were like a solo cup. It's just a cup of water. Like, we're just going to fill it up. I hope it's enough to really make it look like a lot of sweat went on the floor. And we're like, you know what? Because water takes a while to like evaporate off the floor, even in a hot garage, let's just try it in the backyard and the patio really quickly to see if we have enough. And we like threw the cup, and it was just an insane amount of water. Actually, like a full solo cup of water is an insane amount to drop on a floor. It's a ton. We're like, okay, that's ridiculous. That's just way too much water. It'll cover the entire frame. Like, you won't even know that some of the floor is wet and some of the floor is dry.
Yeah, you got to set your boundaries even for a joke this absurd. There's got to be some limits to it.
Yeah, it was probably like a shot or 2 shots worth of water, but once it gets spread on the ground, like, it looks like a lot more. And we only got one time to do it, that we were like, let's just do this, or else we're gonna have to sit around and wait for this whole place to dry. We're like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, and I showed the music video to a few friends before it actually came out to get their thoughts and their reactions, and the majority of people thought that joke was vomits, the camera panning over to vomit hitting the ground or something. It caused a lot of confusion, but there were some people that understood the joke, so I appreciate that very much. And it wasn't a complete failure, it hit and it missed, but it's a joke nonetheless.
Maybe I should have been more sweatier on my face. Like, we did like spray a little bit of like water droplets on my face, and I was hot sitting there just naturally, but maybe I should have been a little more like dripping with sweat on my actual like nose and cheeks and chin, and then it might have red a little bit more obviously, but next time.
Yeah.
Next video I'll get sweaty again.
It's just a little moment in a beautiful video. Who cares? It's just a little moment.
I mean, it's still a beautiful little moment too. So, vomit doesn't have to be an ugly thing. It can be a beautiful.
Anyways, the next thing we did before we tackled the whole costume thing is we had a safe that we filled with dry ice and put my light bulb inside to represent the heart of the robot. And that was a very fun scene to film. It added even more significance to the hearts that you pulled out of the chest. Like, oh, this is important. Like,
it's been preserved with some type of like cryostasis. Like this matters. This piece of tech isn't like, oh, I was looking for that part. Here it is. It's like, no, this was the pièce de résistance, at the end.
Yeah. And then before I put on the costume, we wanted to, we organized things so that I would have to wear the costume last.
For as little time as possible.
As little time as possible. So the next thing we filmed before I put on the costume was the reaction cutaway shots of Matthew reacting to the robot coming to life and dancing right in front of him. So that was a fun sequence to capture because we had all kinds of jokes to throw in there. What are the random things we had you react with?
So I had like lowered my sunglasses. I had your camcorder, like your actual like camcorder that you have, just like filming it. I'm like drinking some water, like, oh, very nice. I think we had also like thrown in some other ones where I was maybe eating something at some point. We did one with
blowing the fan in your face with your hair. That's the first shot we see is the hand just blowing your hair back. Whoa. I just love randomness like that. I think it's so funny. Yeah, so we captured that super quick and easy, and then it was time for the costume. And I didn't realize with all the hot glue I used to bind every piece together of this costume, it would not hold up in the heat of the garage. So once we brought the costume in its entirety, it started to fall apart. As you can see right in front of us, I did have hot glue for this earpiece, and it fell apart on my way over here, and now the tape that we use can't even hold it together. Yeah. It's a finicky medium that I decided to work with. I don't know what's the best, but we had to address this issue right away because we had already been filming for a couple hours, and we had all these robot shots left. So we tried double-sided tape for the pieces that were falling off the costume, and for a minute it worked. For a minute. It was not the solution we needed. No. So we decided to bring the whole costume back inside, and you had this like industrial glue. Yeah. We had like this, E4000 or something like that.
Yeah, E4000 or E6000. Like I thought it was called like E600, but I think it's called like E6000.
It smelled like pure chemicals. It was so strong.
That's it. It's clear and then smells like pure chemicals. So you're like, oh, this is serious. Like this is real stuff here. And even getting it out of the tube is like, you have to squeeze the tube really hard because it's like metallic, and you're like, and just with a toothpick, like this clear substance that's like really sticky, you have to, get it out in place where we wanted to. But yeah, I think Bree had suggested it, like, just go big or go home, like use this stuff that we have in a closet. I don't know why we have it. We don't build that many model airplanes, I don't think.
Yeah, so fortunately that did the trick, and it binded together all the pieces that were falling off, and they did not fall off at all for the rest of that day.
Oh yeah.
And it was time for me to put on the costume. And I knew a few things ahead of time since I had built the costume myself. I knew how it felt to wear it. And wearing this costume is not a pleasant experience. It gets really hot. There's like no ventilation at all. It's just like pure cardboard and plastic.
Robots don't need ventilation.
Yeah. And I cannot see at all through the headpiece. There are no eye holes. It's just completely blocked off from the cardboard. There is like a small little slit beneath where the chin is that I can see where I'm walking at least, so I'm not stepping over stuff. And what else? I mean, my range of movement isn't the best either.
It's pretty limited. I think you even have you had a suspender type of situation with these clamps that would hold the legs of the costume to your shirt or your pants. What was it?
To my shorts, yeah.
Okay, to your shorts. Yeah, and then also to help with any breaks in the limbs, like around the joints, you were wearing long sleeve black like Under Armour or something like that. So it's not like you were just like in a tank top and in a Speedo, super light clothing. Like, no, you were covered in long sleeve items in June, in the heat, in a robot costume. It was magical is really what it was. It was really magical.
Yeah, I just always had water nearby because without it, I would have died.
Yeah.
It would have been real bad without it.
It would have been bad. But it was so funny because every single time, if I recall correctly, as soon as we'd be done with maybe a take or two, and it was like, that did feel good, I would hear his voice from inside the helmet because there's no holes in it, so it's still muffled. It's like,
I'd be like, take it off, take it off.
Okay, take it off. Okay, take it off. I'd be like, and cut. Okay, take it off. Can I see? Yeah. Okay, cool. Can you hand me my water?
Yeah,
okay, take it off. After like every take, it was so good. So we got really good at taking the head off of you, taking the phone out of the mouth, rewinding it to the part that we needed if the mouth needed to be animated speaking, getting it back in there, getting it on your head with enough time to play, and then either myself or maybe Tatiana or Manuela at the time had the camera to record some of those takes. Some of them we were able to do on tripod, but there was a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and you're probably wondering, like, how am I directing and playing this character at the same time? Yeah. And tripod is the answer to that for the most part, is either having a tripod or an extra assistant there to hold the camera.
Yep.
And I would just I'd figure out where I want to put the camera, test out, have some stand-ins.
Yeah, and do like a test quick shot that's like a second or two long so that the composition is seen on the screen, and then whoever's going to then hit record now knows to like keep you in this upper left area and me in this lower right area or something.
Yeah, so basically I would frame the shots and then hand the camera off to somebody else, or just
that's
keep it on the tripod.
That's what it's called, framing the shot. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Let's talk real quick about how I performed in this costume for the whole solo portion. So we did not have a choreographed dance for this sequence.
No.
That was kind of the initial thought in the very early pre-production phase.
Yeah.
We never got around to it. We couldn't figure it out. The costume wasn't even finished until a couple of days prior to filming. So
you wouldn't have known your range of motion to choreograph something for it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like,
All I knew is I wanted it to reflect the feeling that the synth solo gave me for that whole portion. So I knew I wanted to have the robot kind of like be surprised that it came to life all of a sudden, and then jump up from the operating table and then do its whole dance and get really hype and fun. And then at the end we have the hand clasp. But before we get to that, I am not at all a dancer. I think dancing is super cool. I just never practice, and I probably could be good at it, but I never practice. I practice making music videos and photos and stuff like that.
I'll let the people decide. I mean, they've seen you dance now in a robot costume. I mean, you can tell us he's clearly a dancer.
But yeah, basically all we did is I had Matthew filming me for that whole portion, and I improvised all these moves on the spot. Made sure to get some key moments like pointing to the camera.
Oh, it was so good because I was like, oh yeah, like spin around and then point at the camera, and you're like, okay, yeah, here you go. Points way off to the side because he can't see me. He has no idea where I am. I was like, okay, that was cool, but do it again and just go a little bit more to the left. No, a little bit more to the right, until we finally got the shot that I loved where he's like, ha, pointing like just in the way that I wanted him to in relation to the camera. And I was like, that's it. Love it.
Yeah, another shot I liked is when I was running my finger across the buttons of the chest. That's a very nice one. It was also very satisfying to hear the little clicking sounds as it happened in person. And we had a couple shots with me like waving my arms around, just anything to create that movement of joy and excitement. I think we captured in that whole process. And to put the cherry on top of the end of it, we did a very powerful hand clasp, an homage, one might say.
Yeah, to Predator, when Schwarzenegger and I think Danny Glover like first see each other in the jungle after he'd been called out there to help him, and like the first thing he says to him when he sees him in there, Keaton, what is it again?
He says, "Dylan, you son of a bitch," and then and we had our friend Tatiana film that for us, since it was me and Matthew on camera at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. I think the third take was the one I ended up using, and we did probably a total of 6. And my finger or my thumb flew off during one of those
many times. And I think every time that we did it too, we weren't just like, it wasn't like, okay, rolling, action, and go. No, every time we would say like, Dylan, you son of a bitch, and then we'd do it like every time.
Yeah, that was the cue. So I knew when to do it because I couldn't see. I still couldn't see during that moment.
Oh, that's right. Of course. Yeah. How else would you have known? You're right. You were still blinded.
I just made sure to keep my hand in the same place every time.
And I caught it.
So that you can adjust to where I am.
So good. Oh yeah, and because even after, you know, like that, we did the whole like flexing, shaking that they do in Predator. Just like
that was a great moment. I love that so much. And the garage door closing, transitioning directly into the credits is also a favorite moment of mine. And a few of my friends that watched this video, they asked me like, was that planned? Or like, did you know that was going to happen? Everything was planned in this music video. Every single shot. We knew it was going to look like the way it did in the end. Like we spent so much time, a whole month planning out this music video so that it can be as good as possible.
Yeah.
So yes, everything you saw
was planned.
in the video was planned.
It was planned.
And another satisfying thing that happened is the credits don't just end right there. We have the credits kind of zoom out, and we see that it's actually part of that center TV in between the other two.
Yep.
And we see the title of the song kind of hold until the end.
Yeah.
And it just keeps zooming out, and it's just like so pleasing to watch.
Yep. Was that your idea too? Like when we were still in pre-production, and you were like, and then maybe, you know, if we have those TVs there, we could zoom out of one later at the end, like it took place at TV, and we were just like, yes. Yeah. We loved that, and it was also we chose a great moment for the video games on the left and the right. The left and right TVs right there. It's like a moment where Mario's like jumping on an enemy or something like that. It was just like really well timed. Everything just such a pretty and satisfying way to like fade out of a video. Also, the music just changes so dramatically at the end there because that, I mean, I don't think I've said this anywhere else, but that was the original chord progression I'd written with that synth setting when I was making the song. I had written that chord progression and I just couldn't think of anything melodic to sing over it or how to make a chorus or a verse part to go with it. So I was like, save this, and I pushed it to the end of the project I was working on, and I made the rest of the entire song with the progressions you hear for the verse and the chorus. But that was still at the end. And I was like, I wonder if it's even in like the same key or if it even worked. And I just dragged it over so that it would be right where the song I'd written ended, and just go into it so that it would feel like you'd either change the channel on TV to like something different, or you had like changed the station on your radio really quickly, or like, all right, cool, show's over, it's done, you know, like curtain's done, which is what ended up happening with the garage door. And I mean, it's just such a cool like experiential part of it that wasn't planned. That's in the audio, and I will admit that was not planned. That was a happy accident near the end of production of the song, and I really love how it ends up adding so much to like, all right, bye-bye everybody, we were in a TV the whole time.
Yeah, it all worked out perfectly, and I'm super proud of it. I think it's the best music video I've ever made. I'm gonna say it right here.
Some of your best work, Mr.
Yes.
Punch. I think this is some of your best work, Mr. Punch.
And it took us a month and a half to create. Let me actually touch on the editing process, since that does happen after a music video is filmed. If you don't know it, it's not just it's done.
got it.
Upload
out of the camera into YouTube.
I gotta take all that footage and I gotta edit it together. Fortunately, with us creating that descriptive storyboard, I had a blueprint for how every shot cuts into the next and the next. So I just used that as my guide, got all the footage, found the best takes. If there were multiple takes, sometimes we did one take like we mentioned earlier, and lined them all up. And it also was easy in the color grade side of things. We lit the set and everything within that music video so well that I barely had to touch any of the color grade or the color correcting or what the kids call the filters these days. It looked so good in camera that it was basically ready after that. And
it was beautiful.
I think I had it all edited within a week.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. To qualify that, though, anyone listening or watching should know that is an impressive pace of work that this guy maintained somehow, but not in my experience.
On top of a full-time job.
Yeah, not industry standard in my not industry standard in my experience, at least. That the quick turnarounds for every step of the way here were definitely something that was like, whoa, this is the punch touch, you know? like this thing moves, it has momentum. So yeah, the editing process was quick, but that's because you're good at editing.
Yeah, I think the only thing that really challenged me was finding that font for the credits, making sure like the font matters so much. It's got to like tie into the whole theme perfectly, and I found that sort of I think it's called VCR font. I'm not sure.
Heck yeah.
Put on the screen. What's it called? Thank you. All right.
VCR font light.
Yeah. It's very like old
Sans.
digital alarm clock type fonts.
Yeah.
And the color had to be yellow. I just felt like that was very important to me to match with everything else. And then we had a nice little premiere party here in this room, way before anyone else got to see it.
Oh yeah.
Which was
yeah.
quite the experience. Put everyone's reactions right here on screen. Thank you. You're so kind. Thank you so much.
No, please. No, do continue. Yeah, thank you.
And that about wraps up our whole process for creating this music video for Cost of Waiting.
Yeah.
It was a challenge, to say the least, specifically in building this costume. It took me a long time, but we all did it together as a team. Not the costume part, that was all me.
All him.
But everything else was a team effort, and it just
we made pizzas.
That's true. It just goes to show that it's always good to have support. You know, the greatest things don't happen by yourself. You've got to have teamwork. So
yes,
don't be afraid to get some extra people out to help out on your projects.
Yeah, hit up not even just your peeps. Hit up the world. Like, you never know who's like willing to help. Like I know, I don't know if you received messages, but I received messages after or while I was showing the process of folks just saying like, hey, let me know in the future if you need an extra set of hands for, you know, the next video or another thing you're making. So you never know. Just, yeah, I would say like cast a wide net, bring people on board. Having everyone make it together was like the best part of it too.
All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.